Have you ever wanted to go on a heartfelt journey in the lives of your loved ones and newfound acquaintances? Do you enjoy listening and engaging in uplifting discussions that leave you motivated and inspired to take action in your own life? This podcast is a space where we have in-depth conversations on family, health, spirituality, entrepreneurship, and well, just plain old life. I'm Jesse De Leon, and this is my passion. Join me on a walk into the fascinating narratives and meaningful conversations that shape our experiences. Welcome to The Knowing, a Life in Stories podcast. Good day, everyone, and welcome back to The Knowing, a Life in Stories with me, Jesse De Leon, as your host. I hope you're having a great day, and it's going to get better. Why does the church intimidate me? Why do I feel intimidated by priests and religious? Why does God not speak to me? Why can't I hear him? Are you conflicted between what is right and what is wrong? I don't know the answer to that. Guys, these are all some of the many questions that I believe some of us ask ourselves on a daily basis. So I guess you can guess what the topic of the conversation is today. I want to give a shout out to my strong, handsome protector brother of mine, my brother Joey. He's great, and you know, I always wanted to be a lot like him because he was those things, and he still is. And I was always a little bit, scrawny and a little bit, not feeling the most confident, but my brother was always there to remind me of what he saw in me and why he looked at me and admired me too. So don't question yourself in that way or in how you can be like somebody else. It's that's not our reason for being here, right? We all have something amazing to contribute, and it's nice to finally get to a space to know that. And I also want to give a shout out to my sister-in-law and sister, Yesenia, my brother Joey's wife. She's just such a sweet, amazing, beautiful, inside and out human. And I'm just so grateful that she's in my life. And I don't know if I had to choose between she or my brother. I don't know, pretty close. I think I might have to lean toward her a little bit. She is the voice of reason. She is so lovely and she is funny and smart. And she's also, she wants to know more about the history of the church, of God. And we talk about it a lot. And in our daily conversations that start out being, we're only going to be a 5-minute conversation, and it turns into, an hour and a half. Well, there you go. I do want to address some of these questions that I mentioned early on. Why does the church intimidate me? Well, look, I'm only coming at it from my perspective. So not everybody is intimidated by the church. Not everybody cares about the church. Not everybody wants to go to church, let alone know about the church. I'm always curious about history, and it's through history that we understand why we are here where we are today. And when we don't understand history and connect with it, we tend to cycle back around. You've heard that expression, full circle, coming back to full circle. What is that? It's just, I think it's because we haven't figured it out yet. And so we get another chance to make a go at it, to, maybe try to go deeper, try to ask, different questions that lead us to answers. And that's why we refer to one another in life to help guide, have a guide, a mentor to lead us. And hopefully your mentor is smarter than you are. I am not the brightest tool in the shed, nor do I profess to be. I used to pretend to be. Sometimes I wear my reading glasses on here when I want to look intellectual or when I want to cover up the dark circles under my eyes. But we all have reasons for why we do what we do, right? And you know what? When faith, religion, the talk of it, it doesn't have to be formal. It can be fun. It ought to be fun, really, because that's why the church is intimidating. Because when we look at the church, we see it's all in its pageantry and its grandeur, and it's in the artwork and the artifacts, that the ancient artifacts that the church has collected. And you ever walk into someone's home and it's super fancy and you don't feel like you belong there? That's the same idea about the church and why we're intimidated. I cannot tell you how many times I would be invited to parties, to these amazing, magnanimous structures of a home. And I would remember walking up, after park the car, or the valet parks your car, and you step out looking, smart in your suit or your blazer. And as I'm walking up the path to the front door, I'm thinking, oh, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't have anything interesting to say. And I'm just already picking out the corner in the room that I'm going to go stand by in and try not to be seen. And it gosh, you forget about the fun and why you're there, why you're at the party to begin with. Well, I just want to tell you that it's normal. And I want to also encourage you not to be intimidated by the church, because that's not what it's about. It's about providing a place where we can go and learn the history of the faith and learn what Jesus was trying to say to us way, way back when. There's a quote that really resonates with me this morning, actually, while I was getting ready for the show. It's a quote that Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, the light, the life, rather. No one comes to the Father except through me." That is unbelievable. If you think about the grandeur, the power, the confidence in these words, in this quote, and we ought be that confident in everything we do in our life throughout the day. We ought to know that we are loved no matter what we do, no matter where we are, no matter how we dress, no matter how we look, no matter how learned we are about not only faith, but about the world, about things that we feel insecure about. If you're feeling insecure about something you don't know, go look it up. This is why some of these questions, that I mentioned at the start, these are legitimate questions, and let's figure it out together, and let's find the answers. Let's look for answers. Why do I feel intimidated by priests and religious leaders? Well, guys, I went to what's it called? A lecture. That sounds real studious. I went to a lecture last night, and it was at the Catholic Church at St. Patrick's, and it was given by Father Mike O'Connor. And I'd met Father Mike O'Connor once at his church in his parish in Biloxi. I'm based in St. Louis, Mississippi, and I was really moved by his homily. Why? Because he was literally educating me while I was sitting there. Not only was he preaching the word, but he was really wanting to talk about the history of in the homily of what he was speaking on that day. And he was speaking last night, and he was so humble, and he told us about his life and his journey and how he went from being a major commander in the Air Force. He grew up in Mississippi. He went to USM in Hattiesburg, joined the military. He was in ROTC. This man is tough. This man is strong. He reminded me of my brother. He's a good looking man in stature. He was just such a normal human standing in front of us, telling us his story. And he wasn't intimidating, but I can guarantee you, when you see him on the pulpit, he looks intimidating. And I'm like, there's no way this priest is going to want to know who I am or talk to me. But it was my initial reaction, my initial thought when I first saw him up there speaking. But instantly when he began to speak, my insecurities were deflated, and I just saw a man up there who loves the Lord, and he loves this country. Gosh, he loves America, and so much so that he was brave enough to enlist and after he graduated and went on to do some great things for our country in the military, and some harrowing things too. And then he was called to the priesthood, and he listened. So that takes me to, well, I want to finish off by saying, don't be intimidated by a priest or anybody religious. go to them, talk to them. If you feel intimidated, don't be intimidated. Not everybody's going to be welcoming. Not everybody's going to have that welcoming personality or that charisma, the charm, and maybe you're even put off by your pastor or your priest, whoever you go to for religious counsel or to learn from. Just do it. Just go up and say hi and have the confidence of the Spirit, that the Spirit, Holy Spirit, is with you, and that you are good and you are safe and you are strong. And if you're lucky enough to have a brother or sister to walk with you, great. But if you don't, you know that you also have the Holy Spirit to give you that kind of confidence that I got from my brother when I was growing up, who still looks out for me, as I mentioned. Why does God not speak to me? Why can't I hear him? Gosh, you know what? I used to be asked that same question, and my sister-in-law and I were talking about that, and my sister, Yesenia, she and I were talking about that in great detail. And I said, well, you know what? We have so much going on in our minds, all these voices, all these thoughts, all these fears, concerns, things that makes us anxious, things that worry us, our bills, our taxes, gosh, our friends, our family. This one's not talking to me. This one's talking bad about me. It goes on and on. The list goes on and on. But the one advice I have on that question is on why can I not hear him talking to me? It's because we're not quiet. We're not still. And we need to, but it's a good thing to practice being still and being quiet and just clear your mind. Meditation is very intimidating. Yoga is intimidating. Some people think yoga is bad from a spiritual standpoint, but I'm going to tell you that you can hear and you will be guided and you can get the messages. I don't want to get too mystical here, but I'm just speaking from my own experience. When I was able to clear my mind, it's when I was able to hear what sounded like an audible voice saying, son, I need you to trust me. And I need you to tell anyone who will listen to you to trust me. And I've said this before, and I looked up to the sky and I said, God, if that means becoming a Jehovah's Witness, and no offense to you Jehovah's Witnesses, I love you, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going door to door, and there are brave souls who do that. Who the Mormons do it. They send their children off to God knows where, and all in the name of faith and love for God, and I admire them, just like I admire Father O'Connor who served in the military, and all those men and women who serve in the military today. Thank you so much for that, because I don't have the courage to do that. I didn't have the courage to do that. And it wasn't what I was called to do. And if I was called, I didn't answer that call. So, but yeah, just try to, from my experience, try to be still, try to clear your mind, quiet your voices in your mind, and sit with yourself. And I believe the answers do come. And if we really focus and meditate on that. Are you conflicted between what is right and what is wrong? Yes, I'm always conflicted between what is right and what is wrong, because what is right doesn't always feel good. It's not always fun. What seems to be wrong or what society deems wrong, or even what the church deems wrong, is not always fun. And we just have to figure that one out. That's an individual journey that we're all on. One of the things I respect about Father O'Connor and Father Garrett, who's a good friend of mine, is they are the first to tell you that they have their struggles. They deal with everyday struggles like you and I. They may not be the same. They may be the same, but yet they're humble enough and strong enough and confident enough in their faith and in their love for God to be that strong brother, like my brother Joey, who is there to be real, to really be transparent to their many struggles. And that is what makes them human to us. And that's why we shouldn't be intimidated by priest or religious people. They get lonely, they get sad, they imagine they live a life of solitude much of the time when they're on their own, and yet they do it just like our men and women in the military. They do it because they have a love for serving. And that's what religious have, a love for serving. And I want to encourage you to embrace them, invite them out to coffee, buy them lunch, just they need friends too. And they get lonely too. And in different ways than we do, and some in many ways the way we do. Exactly. What are your struggles? I know you have them. I know that it doesn't feel good. I know that they're scary. I know that they are confusing. I know that it can leave you feeling lonely and feeling unworthy and feeling unloved, and they also help you to stay and turn into yourself and bring you to a space of isolation, which is never good. Never good. I'm going to say, whenever you feel the need or desire to call someone, to text someone, to reach out to someone, and then then that little voice tells you they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to hear your crap. They don't want to hear they don't want to hear your struggles and what you're worried about. They have their own struggles and their own worries. Well, you're wrong, because they do, and because they love you, and because it actually takes off a little bit of the pressure off themselves for what they're thinking about in their struggles. Gosh, I want to tell you a few of my struggles. My deepest struggles is well, let me back up a little bit. If I could go back to my younger self, what would I say to my younger self? Please stop worrying about what people think about you. It doesn't matter. I mean, the things that I kept myself from doing because I worried about what people thought about me. And why do we worry about what people think about us? From me, my perspective, I was worried what they were going to find out about me. I was worried about if they really knew me and knew my struggles, they wouldn't like me. And so consequently, I didn't like myself all that much throughout my life, really, because I thought, gosh, if people find out that my deepest, darkest secrets, my deepest, darkest struggles, I'm going to have no friends. And I always wanted friends. Y'all, I want to tell you this little story. The photographer for a student council in middle school, they lined up all the little popular kids, the boys and the girls, that were the athletes and the cheerleaders. And yes, I was friends with them, not because I was super popular, but because my older brothers and sisters, who were all that, were popular. And I remember we were all called out for a fire drill. And that day happened to be Happy Days. Happy Days, dressed like in the 50s. And so I dressed, with the t-shirt, cigarette pack rolled up in the arm, and I was so skinny and scrawny. What the hell was I thinking about? And I had my jeans rolled up and my little, sneaker. And I just happened to be, my classroom happened to be right there where they were taking pictures of all the pretty people. And I remember thinking, if I could just inch my way over a couple of feet, I will look like I was invited to be in that picture. And I remember feeling two things: pride and feeling, shame, because what was I doing? Why did I want to be like one of those people? Because we all wanted to be accepted. We all want to be accepted. And guys, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with wanting to be accepted and not being yourself. And gosh, did I live a lot of my life not being myself. And part of why I studied and learned and read was because I wanted to elevate my mind and my brain, my spirit, so that I would be more interesting. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to encourage you to do it. But what are my deepest, darkest struggles? Well, one of them is worrying about what people think of me. And I still do that. Not as much, thank God. Think about the skin. What does that mean? I think about the flesh. Ooh, I think about the flesh. I think about the body and everything that goes along with what that says, the body. And I think about sex a lot. That is gosh, I'm telling you, that is a big struggle, because I don't know. I just do. And, people say, oh, you're in your 60s now. You're not going to worry about that anymore. You're not going to think about that. That's going to go away. Well, I'm waiting. I just said that, and I think about Madonna's in her song when she says, "I'm waiting." I don't even know the name of that song, but anyway, that's what came to my mind. You see where I am? No, it's just that's what I think about a lot. I don't know. Is it bad to admire beauty? Is it bad to to fantasize about sexuality or sex in general. And it ought not to be. I think it's only not to our benefit when we look at sex and other people in a way that in the way that we might want to partake of their beauty. I think that that all of those things, when it comes to specifically to sex, it really only feels good and only feels right when it's with someone that you love. Now, I'm not preaching to tell you that you should or shouldn't do. That is not what I'm doing here, because I don't want to do that. I'm only speaking from me. I've had the one night stands. I've had the illicit sex where it was just the act of the desire of the feel good of. And what happens afterwards? Nothing. That one intense moment of a few minutes is gone. But it really isn't gone when you share that with someone that you love. Okay, I'm starting to preach now. I'm going to stop. I am not a priest. I might have wanted to be one, but I'm not one. Hats off to those who are. Okay, moving along with another struggle is the world. I want what's out there in the world. I want the nice car, the nice furniture, the nice art, the nice clothes, the nice bank account, the private jet that's going to take me wherever I want to go. I want all those things. And I struggle with that. And sometimes I get a little bit jealous when other people are doing that, do have that. But really, I am happy for them. And there's nothing wrong with being prosperous, as long as we keep it in the right perspective, and if we can share it and give to those who don't have. Wow, how beautiful is that? Imagine the power in that, to be able to do that for someone, to share with someone who really needs it. I think that's just probably one of the greatest gifts. I want to end this conversation with something I spoke with Father O'Connor about at the end of the lecture last night. We were talking about the Latin Mass versus the Novus Ordo Mass, and how people, don't really understand the Latin Mass and what it does and gives to you. It doesn't speak to everyone. And I couldn't formulate the word that I wanted to use when I said to him, I can't tell you why I love the Latin Mass, but I love it, because I don't understand it. No. I don't understand Latin, but I love this feeling that I get when I'm there. And I couldn't come up with a word that spoke to that. And I told him that I was once with Archbishop Amen, and he asked me, what do you get from the Latin Mass if you don't understand Latin? I said, Archbishop, I don't know, but it just speaks to me. It calls to me. It's a very holy, I'm having a loss for words right now. It's just a very holy, beautiful experience. And the word that Father O'Brien said, he said, Jesse, this is the word. It's transcendent. It's transcendent. And what does transcendent mean? It means it says beyond or above the range of normal or merely physical human experience. Wow, that's pretty powerful. I want y'all to look it up, transcendent, and kind of ponder over the definition of that. It's really powerful, because normalcy gets thrown around a lot, and has for many, many decades. And this is the way to maybe begin to understand what normal is when it comes to faith, spirituality, and the spirit. And it's transcendent. So please look that up. I'm going to say, call on the Holy Spirit when you feel nervous, scared, worried, anxious, doubtful, fearful. When I get ready to record this podcast with Darren and Jeffrey, I oftentimes am scared to death and intimidated and nervous and stressed and fearful. And then I just ask the Holy Spirit to calm my spirit and to help me with the words. So thank you for listening. Thank you for helping me with the words. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you for continuing to support this podcast and share it with whomever you feel could benefit from it. I love you. I will keep praying for you. You keep praying for me. Till next time.